Got Your Eers On is brought to you by Tactical Legion 9. All
right, everybody, hello and welcome to this week's episode of Got Your Eers On. Guido here along with Scoot.
Yo, 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 yo.
And Johnson.
So, Guido, since we last spoke, just a few things have happened. Can I give you some highlights?
Are they highlights?
Some lights, if you will.
Okay, what are the lights?
So, in chronological order, or at least an attempt to, I think I've got this correctly. So, since we last talked to folks, Eric Stevenson apologized for Crotchgate. Scoot, can I call it Crotchgate? I think that's what I'm going to do.
He did do something to the crotchal region.
WVU lost to Kansas. Followed that up with terrifically bad news about Jose Perez. The NCAA should just feel ashamed of itself. Jose Perez has his appeal for his transfer waiver denied. Then we lose to Jalen Bridges and the Baylor Bears. Then the little you guys may have heard of Larry Harrison. WVU parts ways with associate head coach Larry Harrison. And most recently, if that wasn't enough for you, WVU fans, WVU loses on the road at Oklahoma. Guido.
So all good stuff, Johnson. Just wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, just a whole laundry list of great things to recap.
I mean, Scooty, I don't even know where to start, but I think automatically I want to pick right off the top the Larry Harrison situation.
Okay.
Larry Harrison, 25 years, 20 years, 25
24,
years he's been
24.
with 24 years.
24 with Hug, 16 at WVU, I think, Scoot. Is that,
yes.
Am I saying that
Sounds right? Yep.
And I think what caught my attention about this, so it happens the day after we lose to Baylor. What caught my attention about this is one, I don't think any of us saw it coming. I think that it was completely a shock. Two is, I don't think any of the players saw this coming because it was a lot of tweets from a lot of past players, but a lot of current players were tweeting out, oh my gosh, I can't believe, surprise tweets to that. And then on top of it, you add you're talking about that mound of mess. And then you just add a little bit of the cherry on top is Coach Huggins kind of said on his Thursday night show with Tony that I don't really have much to talk about it. I wasn't as much of I forget what the exact line was, but it was I wasn't as much of a part of it as people are making it out there.
Yeah, as I was portrayed. He did use the word portrayed.
So, Scoot, what happened?
Well, that's a good question. Well, a couple things are actually happening, right? Either Huggs is not being 100% forthcoming with information, or, and this is very possible, I don't think he would lie, but I don't know that he's giving us the entire story, or Gordon Gee and Ren Baker, maybe some boosters were involved in determining that Larry Harrison was an issue, and they decided to remove him early.
Yeah, Scoot, can I tell you, I have two lines of thought on this, and Guido, you too. So I have the, because we're not allowed to say anything, apparently.
Right.
Because like you guys said, Huggs ended that too, saying, and I'm not going to take, I'm
not taking any questions on this.
Right. He wished Larry Harrison well in the future, which seems absurd. And then, that was just felt like the coldest, iciest thing in that moment. And then I'm not taking any further questions. So I hate things like this, Guido, because if we are known to do anything as Mountaineer Nation, we will fill a void with speculation, rumor, and
right.
We will just fill it in a heartbeat, right? So I get that maybe you can't be transparent, but when you just clamp it down, then I hate that you just leave it open for whatever innuendo and rumor. So I have two thoughts. One, the speculative, maybe we'll say, thread in my brain is that I think you're left to believe, what do you guys think? I think you're left to believe that perhaps Coach Harrison was caught up in something that Huggs was maybe we're going to push through that issue, and administrators or someone was no, we feel like we got to get arm's length away from this and cut ties. I think that's like my speculative thread.
Are you thinking like a non-basketball issue?
Yeah, or like a recruiting violation or something that made the school go, we gotta create separation here. We don't feel comfortable, so that's my like speculation.
The Vic Caning effect,
yeah,
if you will.
Right. Yeah. Something where they were like, no, we're not comfortable with this. We gotta separate. So that's like my speculation thread, which I think is unfair. That's why I don't like this void of no info. Cause in fairness to Larry Harrison, maybe you're besmirching, reputation that shouldn't be that way. But anyway, that's like my speculation thread. And then you guys, my conspiracy theorist hat, my rumor monger hat starts to wonder, Scoot, if whoever orchestrated the Lionsing reached down, punched down and said, reason X, you got to get rid of this guy. That kind of thing. That's my like conspiracy, Guido, is like someone punched down, like whoever helped with the whole Lionsing thing, maybe they're punching down again. I don't know.
I'm here with you. And let me just say, Scoot, like I think I started the halfway through the week thinking, okay, this was Coach Huggins making a change because he wasn't happy with Harrison and the rotations. This was the institution saying, we had to make a change or something happened because of a non-basketball related thing. And then like the more I thought about it and the more it like simmered with me, Johnson, the more I went down, and maybe I'm going down a path that I was going to push till later in the show, but more I'm going down the path of this is like, I no longer think Ren Baker or Gordon Gee is running the program, the athletic department anymore. I think it's Country Roads Trust that's running the athletic department. Oh,
that's spicy. Now that's a spicy take, Scoot. Guido's, that's spicy.
I think it started whenever, months ago. Country Roads Trust got started last year, right? Ramped up, making money, kids are getting paid. Now you see Shane Lyons didn't want to work with them. Shane Lyons is out. If any of you are following Country Roads Trust on Twitter, social media, you'll see, oddly enough, Amanda Mazey did like a 10-part interview with Ren Baker on the Country Roads Trust Twitter this past week. Is that line that Shane Lyons was talking about not crossing? Maybe. I think Ren just like he like leaped across it. I think that now you're looking at somebody from the Country Roads Trust, maybe somebody who has basketball knowledge, said, hey, problem isn't Coach Huggins. You can't fire him. He's a Hall of Famer. But there's this other guy. You can get rid of him. That'll piss Coach Huggins off. And now Coach Huggins wants to leave because you took his guy away from him. And that's where I'm at on it now. I think Coach Huggins is going to leave at the end of the season.
You're putting meat on the conspiracy theory bone there.
I tell you, I feel what's the big conspiracy guy that's on radio all the time? Oh, I can't think of his name.
Are you doing like an Alex Jones or
yeah, like an Alex Jones kind of thing? That's where I'm at on it right now.
I'm going to go one further.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to go one further. Okay. Whoever made this decision on Larry Harrison also made the decision on Shane Lyons.
Yeah.
Also forced the terrorist hostage video of Neil Brown.
Yes. I forgot about that. That just totally left my mind as well.
That would fit, wouldn't it? That would fit in.
Fits this. And here's, okay, so you've got two suspects.
Okay.
All
right.
I want to hear that. I want to hear the
one is more
obvious. We need Guido's soundboard, like the Law and Order, Law and Order, like ching ching, like.
One is more obvious. Maybe Gordon Gee. I'm going to throw his name. I mean, because he is the president, so I've got to throw him out there.
Right.
You ready for the other one?
Okay.
Oliver Luck.
Ooh, really? You think?
I think
it's two people. So I get the Gee, and I think the other one is I think it's Oliver Luck and Ken Kendricks working together.
Because Oliver's going to have a working knowledge of Larry Harrison. And maybe it was an issue back when Oliver was here, and he was like, you know what? I see where this is going. Nothing's happening. Shane didn't do anything about it. We just brought in a new guy. Hey, new guy. We need to make a move. Make it now.
Yeah, well, it does make you think that too. I have one question though, but before I say that, it does make you think that too, doesn't it? Because we all felt like Ren Baker was the yes man that someone would have brought in, and this now feels like stuff like this feels
so you
like
feel
an
like he's
extension.
like the executioner.
Well, or like, hey, deliver this message. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, hey, go deliver this message.
Now,
I have one question though, and Guido, I think it might be maybe directed your way because you're more conscientious of listening to like the post game stuff than I am sometime. I saved a tweet from, let me give credit correctly here. So it's at West by God WV. They had tweeted, that account had tweeted, I heard Hugs make the comment after the Kansas State loss about letting some staff hang on for too long. Wasn't sure exactly who that was directed at, but now we know. When I read that, I thought that's really interesting because I don't recall that. And I usually listen to stuff. I know you do too. I just wondered if that rang a bell with you, because to me then that frames that certainly. Like, I mean, like this person is pointing out, that would frame it differently, but I don't remember that. I don't remember that being a thing.
I don't remember that being a thing either. I don't remember that thing. I'd have to go back and listen to it. You know, and I guess, Johnson, I'll say this, that as much as I think it's great that these academic athletes, these student athletes are now getting paid for all the money that the school makes, I guess, off of this. It's the name and likeness, the power that is allowed to people that aren't part of the institution is starting to scare me a little bit, I guess, and how it affects. And you guys took it from me because I went off last week. There was a tweet that Country Roads Trust put out last week. And let me just go.
Simple math, Guido. It was simple math.
The simple math tweet, right? It was like more than 210 WVU alumni. If half signed up for just the lowest level of our annual revenue generating for WVU student athletes, it would be 7 figures. Saying that like every student athlete would be able to make 7 figures, right? We're no mathematics here at Country Roads Trust, but it sounds pretty good. Join Country Roads Trust. And this is all, I don't know how other people feel about it. I want these players to get cars from Toothman Ford and to get free pepperoni rolls from my buddy Chris at Country Club Bakery. I want all of that stuff to happen, Scoot. I get mad now that you're asking us as fans to not only pay to go to the games, to pay to wear and shirts and hats and all the stuff that we buy that have your image on it. And now you're asking us, hey, and also while you're doing all of that, and donate to the athletic department so you can park really close to the stadium, right? You gotta pull out your checkbook to get that blue lot pass. And now you're saying, hey, meanwhile, we also want you to pay for these students to come and play here. And so I'm just tired. I'm tired of it. And now you've let these people, you've let Ken Kendricks, you've let Ollie Luck, you've let the Country Roads Trust have so much power over the institution, over the players. And I feel like because we're not in Alabama, because we're not a big program school, we're going to get left out in the wash. We're going to be because first of all, you don't have there are some great WVU boosters. I know there are a lot of people who went to WVU that make a great living in the world. And that's great. But half of West Virginia, Scoot, can't afford to write. What is the minimum, Johnson? It's like $300 a year?
It's the fans that are going to get – the alumni might be okay, but it's the fans, which West Virginia is one of those institutions which is kind of unique in the sense that there's a lot of West Virginia fans that have never really stepped foot in one of the academic buildings, right?
Right.
It's
fair.
rare.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, that's kind of rare. You think of any other school, there's a good chance that they probably went there or they've got a connection, a family connection or whatever. But I think that's going to hit. It stings the average West Virginian. To go back real quick though, on my theory, right? So I said Oliver Luck or Gordon Gee.
Yeah.
If it's Gordon Gee,
right?
And I said this to Guido over the week, is this not an example of a collegiate Jerry Jones? Would he not be like a collegiate Jerry Jones?
It kind of looks similar. I mean, I can see the similarities in looks.
Where he's the boss, but is getting his hands into stuff.
I think that now, Scoot, like, I don't think it is Gordon Gee. Like, I think it's Gordon Gee to the sense of, like, he's getting pressure from these high-profile donors, but I don't think it's Gordon Gee.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I'm not sure. I think your other conspiracy lead is more interesting to me, Scooch or Ollie Luck. And other big donors like you and Guido were saying. I hadn't thought about that, but that's I was thinking Country Roads Trust for sure, but maybe certain players within. But I think
go back to Oliver Luck, right? And Country Roads Trust. What's one of the first things that Ren Baker did, like within the first day of being hired? What was one of the big news items? Do you guys remember?
Well, I don't know if this is what you're going at, but I remember by that Friday they had pushed to like double their membership,
their donation
amount.
Membership, yeah.
Well,
remember
that's
they had
one thing.
like that week they immediately did this big push to double their membership.
But correct me if I'm wrong. Within maybe it was 48 hours, but it was within the first 2 days. Ren Baker had already reached out to Pat McAfee.
True.
Great.
Yeah. McAfee
so I'm
made
wondering,
that
is this Country Roads Trust like, hey, we've got these pretty prominent alumni who have a lot of influence in social media, in news media, in the sports world. You need to reconnect with all of these people because that's an area that we're lacking. You think of, and I also have noticed a very, I don't want to say strange, but like there is a major West Virginia social media love fest with Geno Smith right now. Like every time you turn around, there's a Geno Smith appreciation post about something about Geno.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
I read
that,
to the NFL playoffs.
I read that, Scoot, like finally in that regard. Honestly, right. I mean, to me, that's always been lacking. I don't think you're wrong, but I read that as finally. But I think Guido, I sent this. I think I fired this off to you Tuesday because I initially got angry about it because in my Twitter feed, I'm scrolling past people complaining about the price of eggs in certain parts, certain areas.
Right.
And then in the middle of all of that, interest rates and I don't know what all I was reading about. And then like, I think it's in fairness to Country Roads Trust, who knows how other people saw this, but in my feed, it was framed by all this other stuff. And then here they are saying, come on, cheapskates. You're sitting on all this loose money. Just donate your minimum amount. We got players to pay over here. Come on, people.
we got student athletes that are getting a free education that we have to pay to.
It just hit me. It hit me wrong Tuesday.
I know. It just was. They definitely were not reading the room, right? They definitely have not been reading the room. I don't know, guys. I think the Larry Harrison thing is really interesting. I'm a little nervous. What the long-term effects of it are. Like I'm really nervous of, is this the first nail in the Huggins leaving WVU coffin?
Yeah,
that's where I'm at.
It makes you think that, doesn't it? And Scoot, I think it would be, I feel disingenuous if I don't say, like, look, pretty much the whole timeline of our podcast, Scoot, I think you and I have been wanting Hugs to shake up this staff, right? We've been saying for season after, probably 5 seasons now, man, this coaching staff feels stale. Really wish he would move on. So I just want to say that I think it's reasonable that 2 things can be true on this. I can have wanted there to be a shakeup, but also feel like Larry Harrison is getting a raw deal being fired in the middle of the season after being a 16-year tenured I don't know an elegant way to do that.
Reality says, we need to make changes, but this is not the time to make those changes, right? This is not
right.
And so that's what leads us to believe, was he doing something wrong?
Right.
Was there something about to
why
come out
this
that we
urgency?
didn't?
Yeah, why?
Like you're mid-season, so it doesn't make any sense. The non-conference schedule was good enough for him to be a coach, and now all of a sudden something's happened within the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
What is that? Is he a part of the reason Jose Perez? All kinds of speculation. Was he a reason why Jose is not eligible? I don't think he is, but could he be? I have no idea. So there's a lot of I'm not sure what's going on here, but it feels weird.
Yeah.
I will say this. My prediction is just like the offensive coordinator, I predict nothing will be added until later on.
This will go
never.
unfilled.
Yes.
Unfilled position.
I mean, we're not going to bring somebody in mid-season. That's weird.
Speaking of predictions, Scooty, how do you feel about 12 wins right now? How's that 12-win prediction you had feeling?
I'm going to hold fast to it.
You're going to hold fast to it.
I am going to hold
Johnson, what's the math on
it.
that? Can we do the quick math on that?
Well, we got 14 games left. Scooch got to go on a run.
12-2.
You got to go on a run.
Hug said they're just getting ready. There's no way they're the worst team in the league. He said
well, can we – I don't want to get the cart before the horse here, Guido, because I don't know how you want to cover some of this game discussion, but I think we should, all three of us. So Scoot sounds like he's given his answer. You know, the funny thing is, Guido, I don't know where – I think I know where you're at. But
I know where Guido's at.
As much as we've been complaining and lamenting, and I was texting you guys post Oklahoma there Saturday evening, I have not given up on this team. And I just want to say one thing. I think Scoot will back me up here. There's just way too much talent on this team. Like, I know they're not playing well. I know they can't make a foul shot. I know they can't throw it in the ocean from the foul line right now. I get all that. But Saturday, I think, was a case in point. Way more talent on our roster, in my opinion, versus Oklahoma, to the point where, Guido, I wanted to bring this up. We were talking about it a little bit over text. I said, look, I hate to say this, but I think if you take that beehive of Porter Moser and his staff that was happening on the Oklahoma sideline, and you just switch them over to WVU sideline, they would have beaten Oklahoma's lineup. I mean, I just think WVU's roster has way too much talent on it to be playing and performing the way it is. I think the coaching staff, Hugs and staff, need to figure it out and extract the value. It's there. I just don't think they're putting it together.
And I think that, like, if we're looking specifically, Trey Mitchell started the year. I felt pretty good about Trey Mitchell. He has sputtered as of late, but it's still there. You still see the glimpses of it. Ever since the technical foul situation, Eric Stevenson's not.
Come on, Scoot.
He's not been.
I'm trying to get Crotchgate. I'm trying to get some
region gate.
I'm trying to
get Crotchal region.
Crotchgate.
Ever since that, he has not been the same guy.
No, not at all.
No.
And
we still have the foul problem.
Yeah.
We still have the foul problem
Right.
with him. Like, he's constantly in foul issues.
The big man situation, it's real, right? Jimmy Bell, I think everyone loves Jimmy Bell. I think everyone wants to love him even more. Jimmy struggles at finishing around the rim. I think the size is there. So there's little things there. So, I wonder, and I said this before, maybe not on the show, but I think I know I've said it to Johnson in a conversation. Is that where we're missing Eric Martin? Is that, are some of the dynamic of the staff different? Because we really didn't add anyone new per se. We just shifted Josh Eilert to a different role.
Let me ask you this, though. And so here's how I'm looking at this.
Because you got to answer it too,
year.
Guido. You got to answer the question too.
I'm not in on it. So, like, I'm done with the team, right?
Oof.
Like, Oklahoma, I am. Like, and I don't know if I'm done with the coaching. I don't know if I'm done. I'm not done. I'm going to watch. But you know what I mean? Like, I'm not. I've
whatever
lost
expectations
and I get it.
you had.
You're not trusting the climb?
Now.
I'm not trusting the basketball
Are you
climb
just going to start
right now.
watching the games with your Jarrett Deggy jersey?
I might have to. This is where my question is like last year's team. We looked great, or we won. Let me rephrase that. We won games in the pre-conference schedule. We started the conference schedule, and actually we have a worse record now than we did last year in the conference schedule at this point in the season. My question is the difference is this year we like the personalities, right? We like the guys. We like their personalities. We like how they act on the court. We like how they look. We like all of that. We like that part of it. Last year, I don't think we liked the personalities, right? We were complaining a lot about the personalities last year, JB and the attitude and I think that I think it's we're in the same problem You guys have buy-in because you like the personalities and you like the pieces.
Talent level is better. The talent level is way better.
But either way, the chess pieces aren't being moved on the board correctly.
Well,
and
that's
so
a coaching.
Huggins?
That's a Huggins.
That's a
thing.
coaching issue, right?
I agree with that.
Or is that part of like what is now, and I mean, basketball's always been a little bit different than football in this matter, but like, is that part of like every year you have a new starting five? Like you were not is that the difference of like being able to get a team to gel?
I think it doesn't help.
It doesn't help, but I think everyone's got to kind of go through something similar.
Because let's like take that last shot. Like the primary example of all of that, I think, is Eric Stevenson taking that shot with under a minute to go at that Oklahoma game. It was a terrible shot. Like, that's to me, I think that's a coaching issue. Like he's got to know, he's got to be coached. That's you've got plenty of time. You don't take that shot.
Well, not to be contrary, because that is traditionally Scoot's role on this show. But yes, I will be contrary.
I'm a changed man.
I don't believe. I will be contrary on this, Guido. Though I think in that example, the more I thought about it, I think the play was to run through Eric, but I think there was also a plan B if he didn't have a shot, and he stubbornly still tried to get a shot. So I think the coaching was likely there. I mean, I don't think that's what Huggs drew up. But I think that's where, for whatever reason, it's the same way with these foul shooting things. I think mentally this team has not clicked together yet. I don't know what the answer is, but I think the talent's there. They just have not clicked the pieces together.
And I'll say this, I do think it's a coaching issue, because let's take the transfer portal out of this. There are a lot of coaches at the higher level, the John Calipari's, the Mike Krzyzewski's, the Jim Boeheims, the Tom Izzo's. They kind of had a de facto transfer portal in the sense that a lot of their guys, they would lose guys after 1 year to the NBA or to professional. So you're constantly putting together 5 new starters. You're constantly putting together a new rotation of 8 guys or 9 guys. We still continue to rotate about 10. So that's, I'm not saying to, take Bob Huggins out to a pasture or a nursing home and just leave him, and not check in on him. But what I am saying is,
I mean, we're going to check in.
Come on.
We'll check in on him.
What are we doing?
But what I am saying is,
cigarettes every now and then.
If you watch mannerisms and you watch the sideline and you watch Coach Huggins and he's on the stool and his arms are folded, and 5, 7, 8 years ago, similar situations happen. He's probably not on the stool. He's probably not arms folded. He's not eyes rolling. He's animated. You used to be able to hear Coach Huggins during timeouts. You used to be able to hear Coach Huggins during bad calls. You used to hear Coach Huggins yelling at guys about how they weren't running the offense the right way, or, this guy was in the wrong spot. Now, granted, not everyone likes to be coached that way, and maybe that is Coach Huggins struggling with this newer athlete. But if you watch a lot of successful college coaches, they're pretty animated on the sidelines, and right now you don't see a lot of that out of Coach Huggins.
Well, they also, Scoot, I think those, look, we commented about the Kansas State staff. We commented about, I texted you during the Baylor game, Scott Drew and his assistants look like Wall Street analysts over there with placards, and they were like huddling together and guys pulling other guys aside. I thought Porter Moser's staff was the same way at Oklahoma. They were like a beehive of activity. Other than Huggs, I hardly ever, every once in a while I would notice Alex Ruoff stand up and try to wave at people to do certain things. I just don't think, hindsight's 2020, but that's kind of like this Larry Harrison thing. I think if you were going to do this, maybe 5 years ago is when you would have done this and helped Huggs out by bringing in new energy and new blood and people that would do that sort of stuff. You know what I mean? Not to frame, like I said, it's hard to comment about this Larry Harrison stuff because you feel bad about it, but it's like, in
Well, it's hard to
hindsight,
stereotype, right? You don't want to stereotype the staff, right? Because we don't see all of the all we see is what the camera shows us
exactly.
if you're at a game,
Right.
But it is telling that we see Alex Ruoff, who's a first-year guy on the staff, a graduate assistant, a younger guy, probably the youngest guy on the staff, with a little bit of emotion and what feels like, it comes across as the staff doesn't care, an apathy, if you will, but it's probably not.
Well,
I think
it comes across. Don't you think it comes across too? Like more and more of it falls on Hug's shoulders, and I mean, it's like you start to be like, the guy. I mean, he's not 15 years ago.
Seem
Hugs.
like he cares, right? If he doesn't seem like he cares, why should we?
Here's this is the part that I'm having a hard time reconciling with, guys. And like Scooty's sticking hard to his 12 wins, which is crazy. And Johnson's still saying you're in on this team, which I get. And I mean, I'm a WVU fan. I'm going to watch the games. With this, we're gluttons for punishment. I understand that part of it. But this is where we have this conversation here. And we talk about what just happened with Larry Harrison last week.
I am to basketball what you are to football.
But Mike, I agree.
Hanging on to hope or what?
Yeah. I just don't how do you go through all of this that you've gone through now? All these losses, you lose, Larry Harrison. How do you turn this around in the next 14 games?
I can, Scoot, I'm going to jump in because you'll probably say this better than me. But the reason I'm still in on this team is because I think, because Guido, you were bringing up last year to this year. Last year, I just never thought this. This season, I feel like you look at the schedule moving forward. I think things are so predictable with this team. I can just as well see them ripping off a 4 or 5 game winning streak as I can see them losing the next 5 games. I think that's why I'm still in on them, because other than Kansas, okay, give me the levity of Kansas, Guido. Take Kansas out. I think they've lost the other 5 games by a combined
17 points.
Yeah, I mean, that's nothing. And you make a few friggin' foul shots, guys.
So what's that? 4 losses by 17
yeah,
points?
come on. That's
I'm not good at
you're
math.
in every one. And Guido, you've elevated Kansas State now. Kansas State has taken this halo effect of now people are I think people have moved them up to number 11. They're playing.
It's the TCU.
what
the heck? How's this team doing this?
Kansas State is getting ready to play Kansas, and there's this big showdown. ESPN's promoting it and stuff. And I keep thinking every time I see the promo for that game, Scoot, what am I? I'm thinking we had that team toasted.
Yeah.
We were just smoking those clowns and just fumbled it away in the second half. So that's what I mean, Guido. I think I can easily see this team clicking it together and going on a streak of 5 wins or something just as easily as I can see them losing again.
Not Guido, not that I'm saying you were totally in prior to the Oklahoma game, because you were already slipping out. But I don't know that you can give a 1-point loss to be the reason why you were totally out.
What, the Oklahoma loss? A 1-point loss to Oklahoma? I mean, first of all, 1 point, I feel sorry for the gamblers in that game. I mean, with that 3-pointer there
Seth
at the end.
Wilson did jab them with a knife, didn't he? He did,
him. Yeah, because I don't even remember. I think it was might have been 2.5 on it, but I didn't look. I was, yes, you're correct. I was halfway out. I mean, I think to be honest with you, the Larry Harrison firing kind of was nudging me in the back and pushing me out the door.
Yeah, probably did it more.
Yeah, probably did it more than the Oklahoma loss. But there were Scooty, you say that, and that granted, we watched that game. We were all texting. The team had heart because there were points in that game. We were down at one point, 11, 12 with, at the start of the second half with 10 minutes left to go in the game. And yes, they came back and there was some heart there, but they got, I just don't, I look at okay, so who's next? TCU on Wednesday in the Coliseum. Great. I'm glad they're home next 2 games, Wednesday, Saturday, but they're playing TCU, which is a 17th ranked team. Then they go and they have to play Texas, which is a 10th ranked team. And meanwhile, we're just dropping and falling like a rock.
What happens if they win those 2 games?
He's back.
I mean, if they
back.
I mean, No, I'm warming up. I'm putting my boots on.
As
Scoot was
two
saying,
ranked teams.
as Scoot was saying, I'll start like I'll put my socks on and get my boots.
You're
ready.
not-
Get the
you're
coffee
not
going.
lit.
You get the coffee going at the camp.
I'll get the coffee.
You're
going at the
maybe
camp.
looking to see where the carabiners are. Maybe at that point, if they win 2 games,
Right. I'm checking the backpack.
Like
You might
you
wanna
went
climb.
so I think this team is capable of doing just that, right? They were up until I don't know when, whenever Purdue lost, they played the toughest against Purdue out of anybody.
No, I listen. I was in on this team until January or December 31st. Really, until last week. I mean, conference. And I know the big. You're going to say it. You're going to be a Big 12, and everybody's saying it. Big 12 is the toughest conference out there right now. And they are, and that's great. But first of all, I'm one of the few people that I don't think 10 teams from the Big 12 get into the March Madness. I don't think 12 teams get into the tournament, or 10 teams. And WVU's got to not be the bottom team. We're the bottom team right now.
What is eerily familiar, which does give me pause, which is, I've told you, I'm in on this team. I'm still predicting 12 wins. I don't like the last press. Now, I don't really listen to the press conferences all that much. I let Guido do he's my
I'm the press
my interpreter,
He's
my
the,
press conference interpreter.
credentialed GYEO staff member.
Now, I do read some of the quotes. I do a little bit of research on that. But what I don't like, which is going to sound weird to not like, it sounds weird at the surface in a vacuum.
I think I know what you're
this.
going to say.
All of a sudden, so Hugs was pretty tough on the team here the last couple games. Right?
I knew this is what you were going to say.
He's ticked. Guys aren't in the gym.
Right.
All of a sudden,
You might
Joey
not be
Toots
a Mountaineer anymore.
Joey Toots is running a yellow taxi cab to and from the practice facilities, making comments like he'll grab guys, he'll make sure they're in the car. I've got a car. I'm going to pick them up, put them in the back seat. I'll throw them in the hatchback. He's, I can just picture Joey Toots trying to stuff Mo Wagi and Jimmy Bell in the back of the hatch while he's got Stevenson and Seth Wilson and all these other guys in the back. It's gonna be like a clown car full of guys. Joey Toots is
like
driving.
a 1991 Plymouth Sundance.
Yeah, he's driving a Chevrolet
back.
Chevette with a bunch of these guys, or a Chevy Spark or something. Anyway, so this is like a week ago. Guys aren't in the gym. I thought they liked basketball. They must not like basketball.
Not going to work on their craft
I think they told their mothers they hated them. Like, he's like all, doom and gloom. Guys don't like basketball. These guys never practice. Last game, what was he like, Johnson?
He was completely positive.
These guys are great.
Which weirds you out, doesn't it? When Hugs does that, it weirds me out.
He did that last year, right? He did that last year.
It's weird.
So part of me believes it's like somebody said, hey, Hugs, listen, the last press conference, you were a little hard on the guys, and because of that, I've heard some whispers, Okonkwo, maybe Sumnick. I heard maybe Kobe Johnson. They were whispering about, looking to see what else is out there. They're thinking about, maybe they won't stick it out. And all of a sudden, Hugs is like, these guys are great guys. They love basketball. They work out all the time.
After Oklahoma, he's like, they competed their tails off. Like, he was very
we're real close.
Yeah, right. I don't think we're the worst team in the conference by far.
We're close to turning this around. You wait and see. Stick with us.
But I worry, Scoot, because it makes me, and maybe that's where you're going, but it makes me always think that Hugs starts to recognize how fragile the situation is. And so he feels the need to back off. And I took that, though, as a subset of the Larry Harrison impact and stuff, and being over in conference, to me, I see that as Hugs being like, all right, I'm gonna dial it back a little bit because
and I'm sure we don't know all of the ins and outs of this basketball team, but I'm sure Larry had his guys, right? So some of those guys might be some of the prominent guys on this team, and if he's still doom and gloom, and Trey Mitchell was one of Larry's guys, and Emmett Matthews is one of Larry's guys, and they're like, screw this.
That's a fair point.
Old fart,
yeah, it's a fair point.
This old fart's going to rip me. My guy, the guy that had my back is gone. They just got rid of my guy.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I'm out of here.
But Scoot, I'm with you on it. Like, this is where I'm at. Like, drama kills a team, right? Like, drama kills a team.
The other thing I thought
it leads them to 12 conference wins.
Well, the other thing I thought too, Scoot, this may have been after also telling them that they had to head back to the hotel because the plane was broken down. They were supposed to fly home.
Like, some of these guys might just have mental breakdowns.
Right, that's what I was thinking. Like, if it's not bad enough, you can't get on the plane, it's not working. I thought, my goodness, like, if you're on that road trip, you're just like, kill me now, probably. You know, like,
I like how when it happened, he told in the post game interview with Tony Caridi, he's like, "Yeah, so I guess we're heading back to the hotel because the plane's broken down. So you better call your mama, Tony." That's what he said. Like, Hugs, I don't know. But I'm with you because, like, I listened after the Oklahoma game. I was like, "Oh, Hugs is going to come out. He's going to be cranky. They lost. You know, you had a terrible shot there at the end that they didn't move the possession long enough." And you're right. He came out and he was like, "Oh, we're not the worst team. This is gonna turn around. We're close."
And he did that last year, and it was a dumpster after that. Like, it was a dumpster fire. So that's, if there's anything that gives me like he's at this stage already. Like, that's not a great feeling.
No, that's a good point.
And I'm, again, I'm cautiously optimistic that we'll get our 12 wins. And I'm not done. And basketball is a streaky game. It's a game of matchups, and sometimes when you face a team that's highly ranked, but the matchups are better in your favor, you win those games. It's weird. Like, there's, granted, sometimes you can't overcome some of that, but it's weird because there are times where you're like, how in the world did this team beat this team?
But I think, going back to your question, Guido, because I think Scoot's right. Like, that made me wonder too, because you're hoping, like, oh crap, I hope the situation isn't that fragile if that's what he's starting to do. But if you look at these upcoming games, you mentioned TCU. I know TCU has that 17th ranking. I think they fumbled away an 18-point lead against Texas last game to lose. Texas, I don't know a whole lot about. They're red hot right now, which I find interesting on the heels of the whole Chris Beard situation. So, I mean, kudos to them for keeping that rolling, because that's got to be weird. But then after that, you're going to face Texas Tech. You're on the road, but they're kind of a dumpster fire right now. They're also 0-5 in conference. So I think this I'm hoping, Scoot, this team still can muster the wherewithal to be like, hey, look, we had this moxie in the preseason because we were confident in how good we are. We're still good. We've just got to put it together and play our ball and make a free throw every now and then in the last 5 minutes of a game. And, we could turn this around a bit. Scoot, I don't think they're going to go on a 12-2 run through the conference, but I think they can dig themselves out of this hole.
I mean, I hope you're right.
Yeah,
I hope you're right.
I agree.
Yeah, guys, I'm just at a point with this team where I'm a little nervous. I guess I'm very nervous. And I'm very nervous because I thought that this was going to be a team. I didn't think we were going to make a deep run in the tournament. Maybe this was maybe this was a fourth or fifth, maybe we were second round, third round, whatever. I didn't see us being.
We're still Joey Brackett's still got us in, man. Joey Brackett's still got us in.
He's got every team in the Big 12 in right now.
We're still in. Joey B, don't lie.
Well, the ugly part of this, we're focusing on 0-5, and I think it's maybe best we just focus on 0-5. But Ethan Bach pointed out in a tweet that we now have reached 12 straight conference road losses. We haven't.
That part is bad.
We haven't won a conference road game in 690 days. That's crazy. Wow. That's a crazy stat.
Crazy.
That's a coaching.
Yeah. I think that's where you have to go, Steve.
I don't know. I'm just gonna say, you guys stay positive. I love it. I'm gonna be on the other end of the spectrum until somebody proves me wrong.
Football has made us so miserable. We are just grasping for anything.
There's nothing anymore. It's painful.
You're about to talk about girls basketball next, so I know we're grasping here for anything. I heard
women's basketball gets a nice win over Baylor.
Dawn Plitzowite and the Lady Mountain. Are they the Lady Mountaineers?
The Lady Mountaineers.
Why aren't they just Mountaineers? Didn't we talk about that a while back?
I mean, they are Mountaineers. They are just Mountaineers, but
anyway, they beat the 18th ranked Baylor Bears, and I I can't believe how happy I was when I read that on Twitter. I was like, thank God someone somewhere in this sports scope of my fandom is doing something positive. Thank you.
I mean, they're 3-2 in the conference right now, Johnson.
They're blazing a trail.
I was equally as happy when the club hockey team's uniform jersey was voted top 5 in college hockey.
You know my favorite part, though? My favorite part about the WVU women's team beating the Baylor Bears was the Facebook post that our good friend from the show, Brett Solheim, put out. As an alumni, as a student athlete alumni, he can go to the Coliseum every now and then and shoot around. Was going to take his son to go shoot around. Didn't check the schedule. There was a women's basketball game, and so he and his son got to watch the game together. So that was fun. That was fun for me to see that. So I'm glad that our good friend Mr. Solheim did that. WVU men's basketball plays Wednesday this week. We play Wednesday in the Coliseum at 7 p.m. tip against TCU. That game is on ESPN Plus, and then we stay in the Coliseum and play again on Saturday against the non-coached Chris Beard, because this has happened since the last time we did a show. He's officially fired now from Texas. So WVU hosts Texas on Saturday. That's a 6 p.m. tip. That's a 6 p.m. tip on Saturday. That game is on one of the ESPN networks. They don't know which one yet.
In the Collie.
Yes,
in the Collie.
In the Collie?
That's what the kids are calling it.
It's my pet. My pet peeve. I'm not a fan of that.
We won't tell you this. And folks, this is a podcast.
Speak to the people, Scoot. Speak to the people.
Guido is currently, and I don't know that you know this, Johnson, but Guido is currently working on stylizing his hair.
Okay.
Similar to the head coach of TCU, Jamie Dixon.
You go over the Jamie Dixon.
Okay.
He's going for the Jamie. He's growing it out so that he can slick it back.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he will have what appears to be a skunk look about
the
him.
JD.
Yeah, the JD.
I'll have to get some of Scoot's gray and put it in my hair to get the.
Ooh, that's a shot. Go. That's a shot right there, Scoot. Wow, that's a shot across the bow.
Let's jump real quick and talk about some football news, guys. I mean, not a ton of stuff to talk about. First, we got to say, as it relates to WVU football, even though he lost this past weekend, congrats to Geno Smith for making the playoffs, comeback play of the year, made the Pro Bowl. Geno had a hell of a season.
Yeah, he set the Seahawks single season passing yards record. I mean, that's not too shabby.
Right. He got he's got a contract, right? He's in for next year. He's their starting quarterback.
He's expected to return for next season. I think it's awesome. Great for him.
Yes.
No, Scoot, nothing.
Nothing to say about it.
It's good. I mean, it's good. Listen, it bothers me that we didn't celebrate him earlier, right? For a long time in the NFL, he was kind of seen as a bust, and that's not fair to him.
Well, I like the way, Guido, that he's been. If you've been really kind of following this story, I ended up following the Seahawks on Twitter so I could see some of their releases that they do. I like the way Geno carries himself. Just as a quick aside, I mean, he always has the right thing to say. I think it's a great. Obviously he's now, a step removed from WVU, but I love it when we have people out there that are really terrific ambassadors for the university. And I think that's what he's doing right now. It's terrific.
When you say that your worst day is better than most people's great days, like he's humbled. He understands that like he's living a dream. Like he's not upset regardless of outcome. He's not going to be upset because he knows that he's getting paid to throw a ball.
Well, and I think the Seattle fan base, it feels like they've gravitated towards him. Like they really like him. They like his the way he holds himself, the way he's playing. So I think it's awesome, Guido. I'm glad you highlighted it.
Yeah, it's great for him. As for our current WVU team, transfer portal still being kind of active. I mean, again, guys, I'm not sure how to read into any of it. I mean, we start getting some guys. I mean, we've lost guys. I saw where two guys committed to Liberty, right? Reese Smith and somebody else. Caden Prather goes to Maryland. So all these guys kind of leaving. But we do.
I think, Guido, if you're one of the Scoot, I don't know if you do this. I see a lot of people on Twitter that do this. I try not to do this because I think it's hard to gauge. But if you're one of the people that just reads the university names in and out, I think it was nice to see if you're one of those folks, I try not to be one of those folks, but we pick up a defensive lineman from Penn State. We pick up a wide receiver from NC State. There were at least, because I think people get perturbed because didn't we say this last show, Scoot, like we got 2 guys from Kent State, not to overly disparage Kent State, but it's not the most exciting thing in the world. So at least, and we talked about the tight end from LSU, at least we're mixing in some imports that, feel like they're Division I talent, I guess. Is what I want to say.
And I want to come out and say this. This is related to all of this information, but it's also related to our show here at Got Your Eers On. Okay. We, I think, pride ourselves on talking like fans because we are fans, right? And we aren't
most of the time.
Well, we don't. I think we're a true fan podcast in the sense that we're not going to kiss anyone's rear end for the opportunity to, I don't know, help promote ourselves down the road, right? So I think we're gonna speak. That's fair. Yeah. Like if we're frustrated by something, we're gonna say we're frustrated by something. We're not gonna hold it in so that with the outside chance that maybe they'll like our show or something, and I don't know, somehow promote us.
Scoot's given up the ghost of being the official podcast of
You're
WVU
saying you're not going to blow
saying.
sunshine up the butts, is what you're saying, Scoot.
Well, I don't think we do. I think we
straight shooters, Scoot.
Don't
straight
think
shooters.
Red Baker's coming on this show anytime soon, boys.
Or Neil Brown. I don't know that Neil Brown.
I don't think Neil Brown's
If
coming
I
on
reach out to Neil Brown, I think I'm an instant block. I don't even think it's not a reply. It's just a straight up block.
Yeah.
But I think that's what like average fans, because I talk to more than just you guys about WVU sports, and what we're talking about is what a lot of people are thinking and a lot of people are talking about. So, I think if anything, what we do is maybe give some credence to how people are feeling because we're feeling it too. When everything's roses, it's easy podcast to carry on and easy conversations to have.
Well, and I was saying this the other day, Scooty. I was saying this the other day to a friend of mine. We were talking about how I do a podcast about WVU sports, and he's like, "Oh, that's got to be rough." And I was like, "You know what's funny about it is we're kind of growing. Like we got more listeners every week than we had the week before. People, I think that like everybody's like they need a place to come. It's just it's a safe space.
Well,
this is a safe place.
What it does, I think, is it verifies people's thoughts. You know what? Like, hey, I was thinking kind of the same thing, or I wonder what these guys have to say because I've been thinking this. Let's see if they kind of talk about what I've been thinking, and hopefully we do, and hopefully you like what you hear.
I wish there was. I wish like we were like we had presidential polling and like we could just call people and be like, who do you agree with most on the show, and see who got the most vote. Scoot's like, listen, Scoot is Scoot. You are the.
I think there's a certain demographic within the state of West Virginia or within West Virginia fans. That is
the Scoot demographic? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, there is.
The Scootster.
There's some people out there, maybe mid-40s, maybe a triple threat, handsome, funny, and athletic, that also think about WVU sports the same way I do.
Nielsen polling shows.
Yes.
Males,
that's my demographic.
Males
that's
35
my demographic.
to 45.
Males 43 to 47 find Scooty very intelligent.
I think in regard to this transfer portal stuff, Scoot, I brought up the team name stuff because I think that we get numb to the like Tennessee State the other day. We got a kicker from Georgia State. We got somebody recently from Towson, I think. And you get numb to like genuinely thinking like, who are the people that are going to help this team get out of this mire? So at least when I see like Devin Carter flipped the kid from NC State, he flipped away from Penn State to join us. You guys said it at the top. I think I'm so starved for positive information. Even those kind of things at least are like, okay, maybe that's something. I grab onto it. You know what I mean?
And subconsciously, maybe you think, well, maybe there's some credence to tossing in some cash to this Country Roads Trust because maybe these are the only guys we can afford or these, mid-major type guys. But I don't know that that's necessarily the case. I think it's a combination of things. I think, I mean, let's be honest. The team has been sputtering. So do you jump on a ship that seems to be rudderless, or some of these guys might be just looking for an opportunity to kind of advance themselves on down the road. So it's just kind of an interesting dynamic.
Well, let's just check. It's been 31 days, and we still don't have an offensive coordinator.
We do. We have one. He's there.
He's already
he
there.
wears a visor.
Yes.
He's wearing a visor and does awesome cannonballs.
His name rhymes with Beal Noun. Is what his name rhymes with. So, Scoot, one last thing, Guido, if you don't mind, we cover this just really fast. Scoot, what you're talking about NIL and who we can afford and all that kind of stuff. I plopped something into the show notes just because I found it ridiculous. There's apparently, let me see who tweeted this out really fast. Stuart Mandel, I think, is where I saw this. He tweeted out a story that's brewing around Florida. So I guess Florida, of course, has a collective similar to Country Roads Trust. They're recruiting this kid to Florida, Jalen Rashada, who is supposed to be like one of the top quarterback recruits in the country, reportedly on a $13 million NIL deal. They then tried to terminate that. Like, they dangled it out there. They got his interest. Now, reportedly, they've been like, whoa, we're pulling that back. Now, he has not enrolled, and the story appears that he's now suing them. Like, he now is a lawsuit against that collective. And Guido, I guess I just bring it up because it's like more and more of these NIL. We shouldn't be surprised that something like this would happen. We shouldn't be surprised, but it's still ridiculous to me that much money could be wrapped up in a one player NIL deal.
Right. And now we're talking about there being lawsuits because I agreed to come and put like that. You didn't, I mean, you're not signing contracts to play for this money, but you're being guaranteed this money, but you're getting and I still don't understand how listen, we can go down a path.
Things were a lot simpler when Terrell Pryor just sold his gold pants and his whatever else.
And that's the problem. That's what I think when this all started, Scoot, I was with you. Like, I thought that's what it was going to be. It was going to be like
when he would trade things for tattoos, things were a lot easier.
The good old days.
Here's a signed helmet. Give me a car. Whatever. Like, I thought it was going to be that kind of stuff. Like, we're talking about $13 million and a kid suing the school because he didn't get his money. Meanwhile, and on top of everything else, and this is where I get frustrated about it, and on top of everything else, this kid's going to get paid $13 million. He's going to be on a full ride. He's not going to pay $1 to go to school there, right? But, we have to be writing checks to colleges, Mr. Johnson, to be able to have our kids go to school. They're not getting NIL deals. Country Roads Trust isn't helping them get paid for school.
It's possible.
I'm so frustrated by it.
Bryce Young.
I hate it.
It's possible that Bryce Young could probably make less as being a first-round draft pick than he probably made at Alabama. It's almost to the point where you're like, I guess I'll go to this NFL club. I guess I don't know.
It is, I'll
take the pay
don't get
cut.
me wrong. I understand that these institutions, I understand that these colleges and universities have been making money for years off of these players, and
that's been great.
But has it? But there has to be some parity in it, right? Like, there has to be there's got to be a little give and take, and now it's like all give and all take, and so it's a bad path. It's a bad can of worms, though. Let's just forget about college. Let's just forget about classes. Like, it's fine. Just say, hey, it's West Virginia University sports. They play sports for West Virginia, but they don't go to classes. We pay for them to come and entertain you and wear.
Well, and I think it's a bad look for us, Guido. The other reason, outside of being an old man complaining about a carton of eggs and how much it costs me, right? And you want me to give to the Country Roads Trust. Other than that, I think it's just a bad look, bringing it full circle back to WVU. When you're when you're heading into the state of the Neil Brown era that we're heading into, and you're still treading water on 5 wins, and you don't see any improvement. In fact, you see it just like lulling people to sleep and making people completely disinterested. And then you have this collective asking people for more money than they're already giving. So, I know the argument would be like, well, if you want them to get better, you got to fund it. And I get it, but it's like, man, it kind of like you said at the top, read the room a little bit. It felt so tone deaf the other day. So I don't know where we go. I don't see us competing in a $13 million NIL deal type stuff.
No.
And I think when you read that, it's kind of disheartening. Like, what are we even doing here? Like, we know we can't do that, but I don't know. Hopefully we see that scope into something that makes sense and doesn't feel like the Wild West as we go on.
That's true. I hope you're right too, man. I hope you are right. So anyways, guys, we should probably wrap it up this week. Don't forget WVU plays 2 times this week in basketball, both times at the Coliseum against TCU on Wednesday. That's a 7 p.m. tip on ESPN Plus, so get your nickels out to pay for that one. And then on Saturday, Texas comes to the Coliseum, or the Collie, and tip off at 6 o'clock. That's on one of the ESPN networks, so you'll be able to watch that on regular television. So definitely check that out. Also, check us out. We're online. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Got Your Ears. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search Got Your Ears On. And check out our website, gotyourearson.com. It is where everything is, Johnson.
Yep, it is. We'll post the latest show notes along with the show right after this, and we'll have the link right on the page to the Tune In show link, so you can just hit that and listen right in the website. You can also click through to the merch store and check out the GYEO merch, so check it out.
Yeah, check it out, gotyourearson.com. Well, we'll be back next week with another show. Thanks for listening, everybody. You've been listening to Got Your Ears On.